Oh, wait a second, man. We got Ian Furness on, and we've got I Want Your Ugly, I Want Your Disease.
I did think that was a little ironic. I don't know if Yak's sending a message or what. Seems a little hostile for a guest. Time to welcome back Ian Furness if he still wants to be on the show, which he probably doesn't. Ian, good morning.
Hostile is a good word to describe that.
That was a very aggressive welcome to the show.
Yeah, boy. A lot has changed after a guy leaves 20 years ago, right? A lot changes.
Hey.
A lot changes.
That's why we're having you on. There's changes in Utah. There's changes in Seattle. Ute fans have a certain amount of, I don't know what the word is. What is what I'm reaching for, PK? A certain amount of the interest, buy-in in the Huskies. They played good games. They played a couple of games that you fans will probably be talking about 10 or 20 years from now. And now they go their own ways, and like everything in Washington changes. Now, if we get hockey here and baseball here, that's pretty significant changes, right? And the use of the Pac-12 and BYU to the Big 12, and now the use of the Big 12, we have it changing. But the University of Washington, they're going to change conferences. They get a new idea, a new basketball coach in the same week, and now the football guy's like, I've been here 60 days, and I'm the grizzled veteran? I mean, I know college sports is changing, but the Huskies, this is something special.
Well, the good news is it's Jed Fish, so I mean he could be gone tomorrow. Like I don't know how long his track record says he may not stick around for the start of the season. So he may follow the Troy Gannon route there, AD that was here for like a month. So yeah, they're a treat over there at Montlake. I'll tell you, they're a treat. Those guys.
You're down on my Jed Fish. He went to the same high school as my sister in New Jersey. We're boys.
No, you're not. You're a Sun Devil. What are you talking about?
Well, boys through my and. Not only that, my sister and Jed Fish, East Hanover High School in New Jersey, and she's older than me, and my parents obviously moved west, and I went to high school in Phoenix. My two older sisters are in New Jersey. Not only my sister and Jed Fish, but do you remember in the Bill Clinton thing, Linda Tripp?
Yes.
She went to East Hanover High School.
Wow. That's actually a better reference than your sisters and Jed Fish. That's a pull from the past right there, boys. That's a pretty good one.
Yes.
That is a pretty good one.
Things happen in threes. Patricia Kinahan, Jed Fish, and Linda Tripp.
So what are they going to happen here for Washington? AD, basketball coach, Fish leaves. That's probably it, right? There's the number 3 right there.
That's the third one. And obviously they bring in Sprinkle. And we had heard, I covered the conference tournaments in Vegas. And when I left Vegas on that Saturday of the finals, the Aggies lost the night before. And of course, Utah had lost earlier. I knew that Washington was a done deal. I came back for 2 weeks and said it. We put a question up on Facebook. We put questions up on Facebook as we say goodbye to Danny Sprinkle. I put it up on Monday, and then people went after us. It's not official. He hasn't left. Blah, blah. I said, well, okay, it is. It's going to happen. Why do you think they made him the number one choice, and maybe even over somebody like a Mark Pope, who's from the area and played there for a year?
My understanding is Pope rubs people the wrong way. Am I accurate in that?
Ba ra rum ba ba.
Okay.
We've heard that. Yeah, we've heard that. You wouldn't know it to watch a press conference. He's very happy and upbeat in front of the microphone and all that. But yeah, we've both heard that separately and together.
Wait, so it's tall, skinny Rick Majerus is back. Is that what it is?
That's a pretty,
I don't know that I know
that's a pretty
level.
Dramatic comparison there. That might be a stretch right there, but I see what you're reaching for. But
if you're talking about a guy that like puts on a happy face for for some media and then is a jerk to others, then that's big man, is it not? I figure,
I think Pope does that.
No, I think Pope's nice to the local media.
Yeah,
I think he's nice. He jokes around with them on Zoom and all that. So that's not a perfect
folks.
comparison.
It's internal. I got you. Okay, I got you. I think Sprinkle was the guy because, he was one of the 4 or 5 it coaches this year that at a non-power pro, conference, even though the Mountain West feels like they were in terms of the teams they put in the tournament. But, he was the guy, he's got West Coast ties. His dad played football at Washington and he kind of checks all the boxes for the Huskies. So, success in the Big Sky, albeit, brief, right? And then obviously very brief success with 1 year in the Mountain West. But, in today's college basketball, I don't think, and Tony Bennett, I'll just give you an example. When Tony Bennett left Washington State, to go to Virginia and then eventually win a national championship. When Tony did that, it took him 3 years. I mean, he went to the tournament, his first year as the head coach. Second year, they went to the Sweet 16. And then they got some guy named Clay Thompson. He took a step back and went to the NIT, but then he got the job at Virginia. But, so I think there's a little bit of prove it there for him. He may have had an opportunity at Indiana after the second year, but you get my point that, it took a little bit of time. In today's college basketball, you look for someone who can basically control the transfer portal and use it to his advantage. And that's exactly what Sprinkle did, right? I mean, he turned over his entire roster, not by choice necessarily, but turned it over. And, it's funny because that's what Mike Hopkins has done the last few years, and it hasn't worked. He had success early with Lorenzo Romar's guys, who then later went to have no success and just got fired at Pepperdine. But he had success with Lorenzo's guys, some NBA players with Lorenzo, the guys he'd recruited, but he had never succeeded with his own guys. And, I think in the Seattle area, there's an opportunity to recruit people. It's a good basketball market for youth. There's an opportunity there to build a program, but I don't know how many coaches are even, thinking those terms anymore and quote building a program.
How is Washington going to stack up in Big Ten football and basketball? Where do you think they're slotted? Because they're used to – they think they're the big dog, whether they are or not. And sometimes they are. Sometimes they are, but they think they're the big dog all the time. And now you're going to be in a league with Ohio State. Nobody's got more money in Ohio State. Maybe Alabama. I just saw a thing on that. I mean, no wonder they win so much. It's obvious. They spend the most money. So where does Washington stack up with Penn State and Michigan and USC and – Oregon and Ohio State?
I hope poorly, but as far as
sugarcoat, come on, dude, give it to us straight.
I think all things bad for them is good, but in terms of finances, they stack up poorly. That's a fact because their moronic president decided to take half a cut to go to the Big Ten without even a negotiation. The first offer came in, and she's like, yeah, we're taking it, much to the chagrin, by the way, of Oregon, who they were attached to the hip by. My understanding is people in Eugene were less than pleased with her jumping ship before they had a chance to counter or anything like that. So they're making $30 million, which is, a few million less than they even made in the Pac-12, and the travel schedule changes dramatically. And that's half of, they make half. Oregon and Washington, remember, make half the cut that the rest of the conference makes,
right,
in terms of media rights deals. Now, Oregon has a guy, you may have heard of him, Phil Knight, owns Nike.
Yeah.
They can kind of make up for that. Washington, I think, DJ, you said it best. I mean, they think they're the big dogs, and they have this perception of who they are. Push comes to shove, you have to write some bigger checks. I think basketball, they'll struggle. It's a good basketball conference. They haven't been good for a while. Now, maybe Sprinkle just goes out in the NIL world. He changes everything, and he brings guys in, and who knows. But, heck, he could go out and if Wazoo doesn't get its act together and get a coach soon and keep guys retained, I mean, that Wazoo roster would be just fine. But they have nothing coming back at Washington basketball-wise. Football-wise, I think they'll be competitive at some point. They'll be competitive, but their roster's fully turned over from the one that went to the national championship game. The best, basically, a bunch of guys going to the NFL, a bunch of other guys transferred. I think they have one returning starter, maybe two total, guys that you wouldn't even have heard of that are coming back projected right now. Will Rogers is your quarterback, who was okay when the late Mike Leach was alive and he was running that offense. He was awful last year. They lose all the receivers. So I think they, Jed Fish, he's greasy. I mean, he recruited Jaden Delore illegally, so who knows what he's got up his sleeves. But
what do you mean illegally?
You guys never heard that story?
What do you got?
That's one of the great stories.
He told me he took him out on his back patio, and the sun was shining in Tucson, and they looked towards the mountains and said, "Son, I can make you here." And he just said, "Okay, coach." That's the story I heard. What do you got?
Well, he had been charged with sexual harassment and or assault. Those charges later were dropped, turned into a civil case. He also got in trouble on campus. Yeah, and then those charges were coming back up. The assistant provost, or number two to the president, she wanted him out. He also had DUI and some other things going on in Pullman. They wanted him out. Rolo protected him when he was there, and so did Dickert. He wins an Apple Cup, so he's kind of a folk hero. But then he had a falling out with Dickert and the coaching staff, or something happened because they go home for Christmas or playing in the Sun Bowl. And, oh, by the way, he somehow magically couldn't find his way back to meet the team in time to fly back down. Said his flight was delayed. They found out that wasn't the case. Instead of being at practice with his team in El Paso for the Sun Bowl, he was on the campus at Arizona with Jed Fish. Before the portal opened, before any of that stuff. I mean, it's as greasy and illegal as it gets. And then he quit at halftime of that game, the Sun Bowl. Quit. Went in and threw out a bunch of F-bombs to the coaches and said, I'm out of here. And he quit at halftime, left the team with a backup who was a, walk-on that wasn't even a preferred walk-on to play the second half. So that's how Jed Fish operates. That's good. Now, here's the thing. As it turns out, it was addition by subtraction because the guy's just not a great kid anyway. But, that's how it operates. So where were we at? Oh, where are they going to be in the Big Ten? Yeah, they'll probably be, they're not going to be bottom third, but I don't think they're going to be upper third, at least the first year.
Well, that's why the AD said, screw that, I'm out of here.
Well, he had some that's a whole different can of worms. PK, like that's a whole. I mean, you're on the job for 4 months.
Yeah.
The twist there is that he comes in Troy Dannon before he leaves in the middle of the night to go to Nebraska. Comes in for a few months and he loses Kalen DeBoer. Couldn't get him signed to an extension that should have been done in November. If nothing else, an extension where there's a buyout. Didn't get that done. Fires the basketball coach. Now allegedly did hire Sprinkle, so we'll see how that works out when it's all said and done. And then off he goes. So, it's season of change over at Montlake right now for the puppies. But it's all good. If you ask them, everything's good. Don't worry. It's fantastic. We're all good here. So nothing to see. Move on. We're Washington. Bow down to Washington. Here we go.
If you want some Phil Knight stuff, did you see the movie Air about the Air Jordan shoe?
I have not seen it. I need to. I know I'm bad with that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I think they'll. I mean, you'll generally know the arc of the story, but there's some specific stuff in there you'll like.
Well, I'll tell you, when I left you guys back in 2002 or 3, whenever it was, I covered a Ducks game like a week or two later. That end of October, early November that year when I first got there and to Portland when I was working up there, and I go in. And I was sitting in the press conference in the back at Austin, and the first time I'd cover a Duck game, I was kind of excited. Hey, I'm covering the Pac-12 again, Pac-10, I guess, at the time. This is awesome. All due respect to the Mountain West, which I loved. And I get in there, and this dude walks in, stands up, and he starts firing questions at Mike Bellotti in the press conference before any print guys or anybody in the beat guys. I'm like, what the? Oh, that's Phil Knight. Phil Knight apparently gets to ask he was Helen Thomas. He got to ask the first question. And then he got to ask the second, third, and fourth questions too.
Were they good questions? Were they good questions?
Oh, DJ. The best thing is Oregon struggled that game, and they still won, I believe. But I mean, he had Bellotti on the ropes, man. He was firing away. I think the following Monday is when Bellotti decided to shave his mustache. He was so upset. So yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, Phil Knight. And so every press conference I ever covered with the Ducks football, Phil Knight was always there every single time. Every single time. I should have got on. You know what's funny? Like John Nordstrom, when he owned the Seahawks, and even after on the Seahawks was around, you go up to John and go, "Hey, John, my shoes I got at Nordstrom. They don't. You know what? Bring them back tomorrow. I'll call some. Boom, it's done." I wonder if I would have done the same thing with Phil. Hey, you know what? My Nike cross trainers aren't really good. Well, he probably would have said, "You're a cross training?" Really?
Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro, and he has a line along those lines. Phil Knight's getting on it. Do you run? Look at me. Do you think I run? It's good stuff. And there's some serious shots fired at David Falk in the movie too. So I think awesome. You'll enjoy it. And it really,
I would.
The movie really says that Jordan's mom made it happen.
Yeah,
she made it happen.
Wow.
So it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. As always, Ian, that was funny. You made PK laugh like 4 times. So that's outstanding performance by you, despite the rude greeting. You just you came in and delivered.
To make that curmudgeon giggle is pretty. That's
another one.
Man.
When's the NHL coming there? Do I need to send my resume tape down or what? What's going on?
ASAP. I think
who
baseball.
Do you know?
Baseball's
Can you put a word in for me?
End of the decade. Yes. Yeah, I will.
Put a word in for me with the guy who's running the show. Should I just call Locke, or what? How does that work? Is he in charge? Is Locke in charge of that too?
No, I don't think he's going to be in charge of that. But you should. Right. If you're interested, it would be awesome. That'd be great. Yeah. I think that it's not completely what's happening here. The whole Phoenix thing is still looming out there. But it could be expansion here, which might take a couple years. But a move, I think you got to. Yeah. I think you have to be nimble and be able to react to immediate events.
I'm there. I'm here. Just again, put a good word in for me, guys. You guys, I'm leaning on you guys to do so. I trust nobody else down there right now. So help me out.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
All right, see you, boys.
Ian Furness was the program director when we started the show back in 2002.
Correct. Yeah.
And now he's in Seattle.
Yep.
Dumping on the Huskies any chance he gets.
Nice Helen Thomas reference.
That was a good read. That was a little White House press corps humor.
Yes.
All right, when we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us.